guys. Something I love doing. Because the G20 summit is happening this week in Pittsburgh. You guys heard about this? There's all kinds of protesters. But the police, of course, are wanting to avert confrontation. In their efforts to avert confrontation, the FBI and the CIA would like to remind protesters that the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of press, freedom to demonstrate, well, those are no longer allowed. And in fact, they actually want you to come down to Morgantown here, protest down here in Morgantown in what WVU calls the free speech zones, which are always out of the way and out of the earshot of anybody passing by. But to ensure that the difficulty in protesting, the local police units have been instructed to provide demonstrators with disappearing ink for their placards, high-content THC marijuana so they pass out before they actually protest. And they also want to place a citizen complaint box in the center of every intersection up there. Now that video will be provided for $19.95. We'll have all the hits and near misses of people running into that intersection. Plus it will come with a Girls Gone Wild DVD. So be sure to get that. In other news, Patrick Swayze died. There's not a whole lot I can make fun about Patrick Swayze. After all, he probably did Jennifer Grey in her prime. I'm jealous. But in related news, Demi Moore's Ashton Kutcher has been found going into pottery classes. In football news, the Dallas Cowboys held their first home game at that new stadium. What I thought was kind of shitty is that halfway through the singing of the national anthem, Kanye West stood up and said, "Hey, wait a minute! This should be Beyonce's song!" But folks, yes, sadly, the Mountaineers and the Steelers, and even Pat White's Miami Dolphins, they all lost their games over the weekend. And it's like, what were they doing? Because I remember watching the games, it's like the second half of all those games just kind of fucking sucked, didn't they? It's like somehow they forgot that common rule in football. Don't give the ball to the other team. One second, I gotta turn the page over here. Created this an hour before I showed up. I'm a busy man. It's like you wonder whether or not they're crazy, because I felt like in the second half of all three of those games that my little kid sister could probably pass better than them. Are they fucking kidding? Watching those second halves was kind of like watching a fat kid try to eat vegetables. You know he doesn't want it. And when he puts it in his mouth, he just immediately knows that there's something wrong. And he's looking across the aisle and he's seeing Auburn, fucking Auburn, eating that ho-ho and that stuffed crust double meat pan pizza. And he's jealous and he's hating it. But don't you love that? That, I don't know, if any of you guys work at restaurants out there? Yeah. Don't like big people have a way of making their food sound even fatter? Especially when they order with their appetizers in the mouth. It's like when they look at the menu. See, when I go to a restaurant, I look at the menu. There's a few items that I want to select for me to eat. And all the other items I disregard. But for them, it's kind of different. For them, they select a few items and say, I don't want these, but I want the rest of the shit on the menu. But it's sad, because obesity is sad. And I don't want to make fun of any particular person, but looking at the large and the supersize of America. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
You son of a bitch.
I mean, it must just suck just trying to find a t-shirt to fit y'all, huh?
It sucks.
With my skinny ass, what I think is terrible is having to like ride bitch in the back between two heavy guys. They're sitting there like, hey, this ride's so fucking comfortable, and I gotta like turn sideways just so my lungs can breathe. They're like, oh, this is so fucking comfortable, this is so fun. It's like, just remind you, big man, that it's us little skinny ass motherfuckers that remember the recipe to the fucking Twinkies. But you know, big guys have it tough. They have it real tough. They have it tough in ways that skinny guys like myself, we don't really comprehend, we don't experience on an everyday basis. And that brings me to the top 4 on the floor by the comedy news tonight. Top 4 things where it's difficult for a big guy, but it's really easy for a skinny guy in normal and everyday life. Number 4 is the airplane bathroom. I go in there, I'm smooth, I got space. But thank you, Chris Farley, folks, for demonstrating just the difficulty that a fat man can go through in using that airplane bathroom. Number 3 on difficult things for fat guys to do, but it's easy for a skinny guy like myself, is driving an Asian car. Apparently for fat people, the Rice Rocket is not the Honda Civic two-door. The Rice Rocket for them is having a power shit after eating a bunch of General Tso's chicken down their Great Wall down the street. Number 2 thing that I felt was very difficult for fat people, but very easy for skinny people like myself, was the Gravitron at the state fair. So I get on the thing, and I instantly go up to the top. Fat guys just standing there like, hey man, when's this shit gonna fucking work, man? This fucking thing is eating my head worse than ecstasy, honestly. What the fuck's going on here? But the number 1 thing I felt was probably the most difficult for fat people, compared to a skinny guy like myself, is if you get real drunk in Morgantown, you get real drunk at Octane, you're hammered drunk, and you start looking at Bob, the owner, who drives that little Z3 BMW, you start thinking about a ride home, you're looking at him, he's looking at you like, nah, this ain't gonna work, honey. Too bad Bob's not there to laugh at him. We both have BMWs, and we kind of feel fortunate about it because when it comes down to taking a girl home at the end of the night, we kind of have our size limitations. Honey, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to walk. Do we have any other people coming up here on the comedy news, comedy stage? Anybody? Who's got an idea? Funny, a joke? I told this joke last week. I think it was funny. I think it was hilarious. There's some new people here. I'm going to go ahead and tell it again. Because this kid, he woke up with nightmares. Scared. And he goes downstairs to his parents' room. He knocks on the door. There's no answer. Knocks again. There's still no answer. Finally, he just opens the door, and there's Dad, got his mom's skirt lifted up, and he's banging her from behind, just hitting it. They turn to him, almost laughing, like, oh my God, I can't believe you're seeing this shit. The kid's all affected, like, what the fuck's going on, man? You hurt her? Shit, goddamn. Kid shuts the door, runs upstairs. Mom and Dad finish their business, but they kind of feel bad about it. They want to apologize to him. They go upstairs to his room, they knock on the door, no answer. They knock on the door again, still no answer. They open up the door, and here's little Johnny with Grandma with her skirt lifted up, banging Granny from behind.
Where's the punchline?
Like, what the fuck's going on? Kid turns to Dad's like, It's not so funny when it's your mom, huh?